Development, and pleased to host this webinar. Um, we should go for about 45 minutes or so. Uh, the audio is kind of one way, just us and just me and the 3 or 4 presenters that we'll have on the line today. But please feel free to put your questions into the chat box, and we will be archiving this for those in the future. So the record button is on, so it's everything that transpires today you can share with your colleagues who weren't able to join us. I'm pleased to welcome our presenters today. We're going to start off with Renee Wagner, who is the Ag Research Service Midwest Area Technology Transfer Coordinator, and she's located in Peoria, and she facilitates collaboration and transfer of ARS technologies developed in the Midwest Area Research Labs to the public and commercial sectors. And she's been a research scientist with ARS for over 20 years. And then after her will be Rob Griesbach, who's the Deputy Administrator for Technology Transfer with ARS, and he also helps coordinate programs to optimize the transfer of research results across USDA Ag Research Service to the private sector for development and commercialization. And then Robbie Melton will be joining us. He's from the Maryland Technology Development Corporation and manages rural business initiatives. And I think Rob Griesbach said there was another person that might come on later too. So we'll let him introduce that person when the moment comes. But I'll just turn it over to Renee, and the floor is yours. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you. So welcome to our presentation. We're hoping that this will provide some information that will enable us to identify ways to work together in the future. And Rob Griesbach is joining me for this presentation. So for those of you who may not know who we are, what we do, I just have a few slides to kind of introduce ourselves. And just before I continue, can someone let me know if you're hearing me okay? Someone who's not a presenter? In the chat box?
Yep.
Okay.
Looks like Hi LaRue is helping. So
Thank you so much. Okay. So the Ag Research Service is the main internal research organization within the USDA. There's some other agencies that also do internal research, but we're the primary one. We're part of the Research, Education, and Economics mission area of the USDA. And at the bottom you see the organizations that are associated with REE, and probably most of you are more familiar with NEFA. They're the group that provides the external grant programs for this mission area. Our mission is to conduct research to develop solutions to ag problems of high national priority. As well as developing those solutions, part of our role and mission is to transfer those solutions and disseminate the information regarding our research results. And the areas that our mission relates to are ensuring that high quality, safe food and other agricultural products are available for the U.S. public. We also work in assessing the nutritional needs of Americans. If you've seen recently, I guess now the USDA pyramid is now a pie or a cake or something, but that's part of our role as well. Our mission supports sustaining a competitive agricultural economy for the U.S. And while doing that, we also work to enhance and preserve the natural resource base and the environment. And another part of our role through our research and other activities is to provide economic opportunities for the U.S. citizens, particularly rural communities. So our current status is a little under 2,000 scientists across the country. We have a little fewer than 100 locations located in states across the U.S. as well as some international locations. The way that we help to define our relevance and priorities is to to call frequent stakeholder and customer meetings to discuss with our partners and our users the needs of the agricultural community. Right now, we have a little over 850 internal research projects, but we have many thousands of cooperative research agreements as well with other institutions. And our budget is a little under $1.1 billion. This is a map of the locations within the U.S. and the Virgin Islands where we currently, for the most part, have research locations. And as you see, they're kind of color-coded by areas, and that is how our research programs are implemented at the area and location levels. So for line management purposes, the area shaded in orange is the Midwest area, and so that's the area that I represent, and I work with a scientist in that particular region. However, for prioritizing and coordinating research at the national level, that is done through our national programs. And so our Office of National Programs is divided into 4 main areas: nutrition, food safety and quality, animal production and protection, natural resources and sustainable agricultural systems, and crop production and protection. And while these are subdivided then into specific national programs, many of our actual research programs that are implemented cut across many of these programs in terms of the actual implementation of the projects. And these national programs are also in line with the national priorities for the research, education, and economics mission of USDA with regard to climate change, bioenergy, children's nutrition and health, food safety, and global food security. So oftentimes we're asked, how do we prioritize? How do we make decisions on our priorities and the needs of current U.S. agriculture? And we do that through a research planning cycle. And the first, hopefully these will be in the right order, the first part of this process is stakeholder workshops. And we invite customers and stakeholders, collaborators, national program leaders, as well as our scientists and our line management, get together to identify what the current needs and priorities are in a particular area. That's followed by development of that specific national program. So all of these national programs are developed with stakeholder input and looking at what the research priorities of the industry and businesses and our commodity groups. Oops, sorry about that. And from that, we developed a plan, an action plan, which identifies those program priorities. And from there, the national program staff, together with our line management, identify the locations where those projects will be implemented, and the project plans are prepared for review. And all these project plans then fit into the action program that has been developed from those workshops. Oops, I apologize for this. It didn't show up that way on my screen. But what this says is the Office of Scientific Quality Review. And that is a group within the ARS that then takes those project plans and convenes panels to review them for scientific quality and implementation. And so those panels are not internal panels. Those have external reviewers that look at the quality of what we propose to do, the resources we have to do the project in order to determine if that project is well structured for the implementation. And then at that point, of course, our scientists initiate the research with the appropriations provided by Congress. But that's not the end of the process. So on a yearly basis, line and program management review the progress of the research and how it relates to the research project plans and the milestones and objectives that were set forth in those project plans. But the end of that research cycle, however, before the next stakeholder workshop, there's an evaluation of the entire action plan and those research projects and how well we met our goals and objectives as an outcome from those workshops. One of the things that I want to stress is that our mission is not just to conduct the research and publish papers. Publications are one way to get our research results out to potential users, but we also, as part of a federally funded research organization, we also have a responsibility and a mission to transfer those solutions to potential end users or those who can help us to get those research results to our end users. And there's a lot of different ways we do that. There's a lot of different ways we implement our technology transfer. Of course, our scientists are interested in publishing their results in scientific publications, so other scientists can use those results for additional research. But we also publish in trade journals so that commodity groups and growers can get the information in a different format. Some of the research lends itself to demonstrations and field days where growers and other groups can come in and see kind of how we're doing and the results based on those management practices, for example. Some of our information goes into public databases. All of our information, for the most part, ends up on our website in one format or another. It may be a press release, it may be an ARS research magazine, it may be the actual publications, a summary of our research goals and objectives, and also some of the software and decision-making tools that we develop are on our website. But not all of the research we do can be transferred efficiently that way. There's quite a bit of research we do that requires some kind of commercial partner to get it out to the public. And so some of the tools that we use for that are cooperative research and development agreements through the patent process, some protection of intellectual property and licensing of those technologies, or other methods of commercialization of our processes or materials. So, for example, there's very specific goals of our tech transfer program, which may be different from other institutions that you may work with. Our real goal in our mission is to transfer the technology, not to make income from that transfer. And so the decision-making process in whether or not to protect some of our inventions is really driven by whether that IP protection will facilitate transfer of the technologies to the end users and to the public. Another goal is to facilitate research partnerships that help for the adoption of those outcomes. As I mentioned before, some of the outcomes of our research can be implemented through collaborations with extension agents or commodity groups or other methods in addition to or instead of IP protection and commercialization. As I mentioned before, we protect intellectual property primarily if it will enhance our technology transfer efforts. And our patent and licensing strategies are targeted at enhancing the competitiveness of U.S. companies. And once again, part of our mission is for enhancing U.S. economic development and sustaining the economic security of U.S. businesses. So as I mentioned before, we have approximately 850 internal research programs, but we have thousands of collaborative research agreements. That's because partnering is really a big part of what we do. It's a big part of how we operate, both from the collaborative research point of view, but also to help facilitate technology transfer. For example, in some of our cooperative agreements, the partnering can enable collaborative evaluation or implementation, or in sometimes further development of our technologies to move them into the marketplace. Our partnering also facilitates the adoption of our technologies by end users. That may be through demonstrations or other mechanisms. As well as through commercialization of our technologies in the marketplace. Partnering provides access to ARS expertise in research areas of mutual interest. And one of the unique characteristics, of course, is that ARS is a relatively large organization, so we have expertise in many areas in the agricultural research arena, and we can put together teams to address a problem. It's not necessarily limited to one location or one scientist, so it's a unique network that we have of expertise across the country. In some cases, we have some specialized facilities that might not be available elsewhere, and one of the examples I'll show you is our pilot plant facilities. And some of those specialized facilities can help to facilitate moving and developing the technologies forward. And of course, it leverages the assets and expertise of both parties or multiple parties in the agreement. So when we're working with industry specifically for commercialization or research and development of some areas of mutual interest, there's two mechanisms that we use for, particularly for technologies that are of interest for intellectual property protection. And these are not the only tools we have, but these are the ones that we use when there's where intellectual protection is important to commercialization. And so the one, of course, is licensing of protected technologies. Those could be methods, processes, materials, plant germplasm, to the private sector for commercial production. Another way we can partner with industry is to work under a cooperative research and development agreement. And that's only one of the types of agreements that we have when we're working with external partners. But this is a unique type of agreement with authorities, congressional authorities, that allow us to work directly with industry to solve problems that are of mutual interest under some terms that are favorable for our industry partners. So I'm going to talk just briefly about licensing and then CRADAs. So the goals of our technology licensing program, as I said, are primarily to facilitate tech transfer and to support U.S. businesses, providing an incentive for investments by the private sector, supporting small business enterprises and entrepreneurs, and of course supporting investments by U.S. businesses in international markets to make them more competitive. There it is. Okay, so our cooperative research and development agreements, as I said, are a specialized type of agreement that we use when we're working with an entity where there's the likelihood of invention resulting from the agreement, and our CRADA partner is interested in commercializing the technology. Normally, if we have an invention that is made either through a different type of collaboration or in-house inventions made by our scientists with congressionally appropriated funds, if a partner is interested in an exclusive license, we are required to publish a notice of intention in the Federal Register. and address any objections that are received as a result of that intention. But under ACRADA, there's some special opportunities for our CRADA partners, in the sense that under ACRADA, any new invention that results from that collaborative research project can be licensed exclusively by the CRADA partner without publishing the notice of intent. And as well, there's some terms that allow us to maintain confidentiality from FOIA for up to 5 years, depending on the project and the type of work that's being done. So there's some competitive advantages in working under ACRADA if we can use that mechanism for a particular collaboration. I mentioned before also one of the potential opportunities is the specialized facilities at some of the ARS research labs. So there are 4 ARS regional research centers that were established in the 30s, and they were established specifically to develop value-added products for agricultural commodities. And our 4 regional centers are located near San Francisco, near Philadelphia, in New Orleans, and one is here in Peoria, Illinois. And so the pilot plants allow that interface from the lab bench for scale up, a pilot plant scale prior to scaling up for commercial production. And so the use of those facilities under collaborative agreement are also done under the CRADA. So I mentioned before that 2 of the ways that we partner with industry for additional research and development or commercialization is through licensing and through CRADAs. However, we're a research organization, and so our partnering and our expertise is in the research arena and solving problems and developing technologies. But oftentimes that's not really sufficient for, let's say, a startup business or a small business to move forward and be successful in commercialization of those research and results and technologies. And so sometimes there's a gap between the successful commercialization of our technologies, even if we've got some really, really hot technologies that have been licensed. And so Rob Griesbach's going to talk about some of the ways that we've partnered with others to provide that opportunities for successful commercialization. Rob?
Well, he was here.
Oh, there he goes. Now he's got a microphone.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
Rob?
That's funny. We were hearing him before. Rob, do you have your mic muted by any chance? That's odd. Well, why don't you wing it a little bit for him, Renee?
Oh, sure. Rob, are you on yet? No. Okay. So, as I mentioned, our mission is not only to conduct research to develop solutions.
Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I'm hearing you now, Rob.
Okay, well, we're just going in and out. I'm not sure why. Okay, yeah, one of the things, as Renee was talking to you, we do CRADAs, and we can also do CRADAs with universities. As you probably are aware, or should be aware, we have ARS scientists located at most of the land-grant universities, and a significant part of our patent portfolio is co-owned by the universities. So one of the things that ARS is very good at, and the university scientists are very good at, are at the science. But there's a dilemma if we have a commercial partner and that particular commercial partner needs some business help or some things like that, we're not very good at that because we're scientists. And since our mission is not only to solve the problem, but to actually get those solutions implemented, we've decided we needed help. So where we went with this help is we established what we call the Agricultural Technology Innovative Partnership, or ATIP. And in this program, what we've done for each region is picked an economic development partner to actually help that particular region move that flow of research out to help the companies if there are aspects where they need some help in mentoring a business plan, or need some additional help in finding bank loans, or need some funds and doing things like that. So the ATIP is really out there to help our partners. To show you this sort of in more diagrammatic detail, ARS has assets as well as the university. That's the capital, our capacity to do research. We have intellectual property, and so we have a lot of assets, but those assets don't actually lead to tech transfer without complementary assets. And the complementary assets that are actually required to do tech transfer are listed here. And as you can see in these different types of complementary assets, the universities scientists as well as ARS scientists are very good at providing some technical expertise to those partners to move things forward. And so what our ATIP partners, being economic development ones, and Robbie Melton is participating as one of our ATIP partners, they can provide these other expertise to actually help to implement or to get tech transfer. So as you can see, the goals of ATIP is actually to help the businesses find the research needs. And the ATIP not only works with ARS, they also work with the universities in terms of guiding those businesses to the needs. They also look at the business plans to make sure that we have appropriate business partner to move forward. And they can also help us do assets of our technologies to say if these are of value or whatever. And the last thing they can do is coordinate the showcases. And we'll get to showcases a little later on. And as you can see, there's a lot of other things that the complementary assets that the private sector need that can be provided by ATIP. And this is the location of our ATIP members. As you can see, in the Midwest area, the Wisconsin Security Resource Consortium is the ATIP member. These ATIP members, however, work as teams, and these teams then can coordinate. So if certain aspects are needed, Maryland TETCO could help, the Midwest, or certain things, the California Association for Local and Economic Development. So they form this network that can actually help provide the complementary assets to our business partners.
Rob, could you speak a little more softly? That people are noticing a little distortion in your mic.
Sure, let me turn it down. So yeah, one of the things that, as you can see in the sort of last slide, ARS has got a lot of research solutions that you can see, from the turkey at Thanksgiving time to permanent pressed cotton that you're wearing right now. If you're wearing leather shoes, we're the ones that actually developed the leather procedure. So there's a lot of research results that we have, and we have a lot of research capacity. So one of the things that we are doing in this presentation is, and I'm not sure if Robbie is actually hooked up as a presenter at this point. So Robbie really doesn't have access to speak, does she?
Let me see if I can find her. There she is. Okay, she's now a presenter.
Okay, so what Robbie Melton was going to do is talk a little bit about how we've done showcases and adapted this to a different example that the extension people are very interested in, is listening sessions and stakeholder meetings. You there, Robbie?
Yeah. She might not need to activate her mic, remember, up there at the top.
Right.
It's right above the bouncing arrow there.
Well, why don't I start talking until she comes online. One of the things that our ATIP partners were doing is setting up showcases where they've taken technologies that we've developed and then highlight them and try to find business partners. And we're fairly successful at getting our technologies out. One of the things we wanted to do was look at more upstream. If we're going to develop technology, we want to make sure that that technology is developed in relationship to the stakeholder that's going to use that. So what we've set up is a set of forums where we actually go out, listen to the...
Oh, am I on now?
You're on now.
Or did I cut you off, Rob?
No, go ahead.
Are you? No, go ahead. Oh, okay. Just to talk a little bit about the showcases. Originally, when we started doing showcases with ARS, we just looked to see what their best technologies were that were ready to be commercialized, and then we would do a day-long sort of session where scientists would come and talk about their research. Well, we realized that we really weren't grabbing the attention of the people who really needed the technology. So in our new, what we call agricultural innovation forums, we actually go out and listen to the farmers first to find out what their issues are. And we do them in the various agricultural regions around the state because we realize each region has listen to what their major concerns are, and we just do a brain dump. So it doesn't even, like one of the big issues is broadband connection. So that's a big one. So we just want to hear everything, sharing all their ideas. Then we work again with a team of people in that region to are the real key issues, and we have ARS go back and look at their entire research vision and find out who are the best people working to solve those issues, and then we bring them in for a day-long session to really not just talk about what they're doing, present it, but actually really engage with the farmers and the extension. So rely heavily on extension to really bring the farmers in and really, because extension works so much with the farmers, they too, you know, we interact a lot with them to help understand what those issues are and how we can help the farmers. Then we actually rely on extension to actually help set up pilot projects with the farmers and technology forward.
Robbie, can you speak up a little bit? Some people are...
Okay. So, yeah, so what I was saying is we really work hand in hand now with extension and with the farmers, to work with the farmers to help set up the pilot programs and to help us establish some new technology in the farm. So two of the things that have come out so far from our ag forums, we have somebody setting up a pilot project for year-round strawberries, and then we have another potato project using crop modeling on the Eastern Shore. So those are the projects. The great things about the ag forum too is now the ARS scientists are working more closely with the developed and get it out there.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do is have a Bob McDonald talk about what we're actually doing with extension in some of the other states, especially the southern region.
So, as many as you know, I joined ARS from NIFA about a year ago. And by the way, am I being heard?
You're a little fuzzy.
I'm fuzzy. Well, I've been accused of that before, but is that better?
A little bit.
Okay. So, as many of you know, I joined ARS from NIFA about a little over a year ago. And as I was listening to all of this and learning about this, thoughts started going through my head that maybe are going through many of your heads now. First of all, the very definition of extension, extending the hand of the scientist to the farmer, is really technology transfer. Secondly is that as we started talking about listening forums and sessions, that sounded very familiar with what both the extension and the ag experiment stations do, often jointly. And can we work together, particularly in times of scarce resources, but also in terms of better getting these technologies out and serving the people of all of the states that we try to reach out to. And third is that the RRDCs, this is really an economic development activity. A lot of it's happening in the rural areas. We were reaching out to see to the RRDCs if this is an activity that also they might find a place and role that we can be involved in working together on. And so we're really at the early stages of this. We have several state extension services who we're having dialogues with and trying to explore how, as we move beyond what we've done here in Maryland, to how we can pick this up and make it most appropriate for each state. And certainly this is now thanks to Scott, reaching out to the RRDCs as well to do this. And so that's sort of how we've gotten to the point where we are now. So, Robert, are we ready for questions? So we're ready to entertain questions that you may have, and I think any of us will be glad to take those.
Well, while people are typing in their chat boxes, I just would ask, so if you're an extension educator and interested in hosting one of these dialogues with farmers, what's the process for getting something like that?
I can try to address that. I think what we would like to do, I think the first process, or what we've done, is in Maryland, what we had to start sort of at ground zero to listen to the farmers to get this complete list together. And I think most of the extension people have already done that, and they've got sort of a long list. So what we've done is more or less get on a conference call to narrow that list down to where we have solutions, whether that may be university solutions or where that may be ARS solutions. And then once we've got that narrow list where we have some real solutions, is then have our ATIP partner sort of coordinate and organize getting the farmers or the businesses or those stakeholders to the particular forum to have a discussion on, these are our solutions, what do we need to implement them? One thing that's pretty nice on these forums, what the ATIP partner does, is brings different groups, such as rural development, some of the banking industry, where the farmers can actually get low-interest loans to purchase equipment if they need. We bring SBIR in, so where they can get a grant to tweak it for their particular farm or growing situation. So the forum itself is more of a discussion how to implement these solutions that the universities and ARS have developed.
How would they navigate the system? So what would be the first point of contact? Is there a website listing of how they would find folks, or would they go to these the map that Renee showed and find the person in their area back here?
One of the things we would do is, if you go to, I'm looking at the PowerPoint right now, and Renee doesn't have a slide. What we could do is put up another slide. Is the contact would be the tech transfer coordinators. Each region has a tech transfer coordinator. So in your region, it would be Renee Wagner. In the California, the Mid-Pac West region, it would be Dave Nicholson. So or they could actually come to me, and you've got my contact information, and then I could direct them to the tech transfer coordinator in the particular ARS region.
So the basic question would, so I'm trying to get back to that slide that Renee showed, these regions. So it would be kind of asking you who's your person in the region of relevance. We actually have people from across the U.S. on the line today, so this would be the kind of the relevant map to base it off of?
Yes, in each one of those colored regions, we have a tech transfer coordinator. And they would be the one to actually host that. So they can, right now they can just get to me. As you can imagine, everybody's budget's a little tight. We just had 2 tech transfer coordinators retire. So headquarters here is trying to cover those 2 regions right now. Okay. So it would probably be best to just contact me, and then I can put them in contact to the tech transfer coordinator.
Okay, and then what would be the process after that?
The process after that then would be the tech transfer coordinator would contact their ATIP partner and would also contact headquarters here with our licensing and patenting staff, and then we'd get on a conference call to sort of look at what issues you guys have, the extension people have already identified as the issues they want to focus on. And so from that list, usually it's a very, very long list. So we sort of, on that particular first conference call, we try to narrow down to a few of the topics. Because many times there's like 50 topics, and we've got for an effective forum, we really need maybe only 3 or 4 topics. And then once on that conference call, we sort of narrow it down. Each group then does their little homework to find out what are the researchers that have some of the solutions. And then what we do is we have another conference call to try to coordinate, these are researchers with these solutions. And then from that second conference call, we then bring in the scientists to try to develop then the format of the forum.
Okay, so one of the things that the centers have been doing, and Bo Ballou is on the line, and I think, or he was anyway. Yeah, he's still there. And we have he's been kind of providing leadership for these Stronger Economies Together regions, where they identify priority areas for economic development along sectoral lines. So would you be able to kind of contribute to a conversation around those lines, particularly if it was a ag and natural resource based system that we're looking at, like forest products or ethanol production or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and Bo can chime in here via typing, but since I got the words, I can speak faster than Bo can type. Yeah, we've talked with him, and we actually are in the process of looking at that. One of the things that he suggested, it was a very interesting approach, is instead of having actually a forum listening session right away, is to look at, well, maybe we have some solutions that we don't really need a listening session per se or a forum. Why don't we use e-extension and try to get some of this stuff out via e-extension immediately? So he's looking at try to utilize e-extension as a possibility to get some of this information out, so we don't have to physically have everybody meet in a physical one location for the forum, which is a pretty neat idea, is to try to do it by e-extension instead of by a physical meeting.
Okay.
And I guess Bo can type something in if I'm not accurate in the assessment of that conference call.
Yeah, we'll give him some time to do that. And are you you mentioned, partnering with the university-based faculty and the value-added folks. Could you give some examples of how that has worked? What are some sort of success stories in partnering with the value-added agriculture faculty or extension educators?
Yeah, probably a really good one that may not be relate to you guys too much because you don't have a lot of chickens. But here on the East Coast, there's a huge number of chickens. And so what we've done is we're looking at manure systems. And so we've our researchers in Georgia, our researchers in Maryland, and our researchers in Pennsylvania, actually not in Pennsylvania, have worked with Penn State, Virginia Tech, and the University of Georgia, and actually in Boonville, Arkansas, and the University of Little Rock, to actually develop a machine that actually can put the manure via the subsurface so that there's no runoff and everything else. And what we've done is brought in EPA to have that as an EPA-approved use for a chicken manure as an ecologically sound and for payments like that. And without the university ARS team, we would have never have actually gotten this tractor attachment actually built. What's interesting, we have some concern, it's sort of a humorous concern. If you look at some of our scientists, and maybe some of the people at the universities don't even realize this, if you ask one of the ARS scientists, a good example is I was just visiting our location in Albany, California, and they gave me their business cards. Our ARS scientists gave me their business cards, and not one of the business cards actually said ARS. What they did is they said University of California. Same thing. Some people at Michigan State, when you get their ARS business cards, they don't list ARS. They list university. They list Michigan State University. So a lot of our ARS people are really intimately connected with the faculty, and their research programs can't coexist without the department in which they're based. So we are very well integrated.
That's great. That's great. What about the kind of the business development faculty, like for example here at Michigan State University, and we're certainly not unique in this arena, but I think we have a strong one. We have what's called the Product Center for Ag and Natural Resources, which really works with ag and natural resource related businesses on product development, product placement, business planning kinds of things. Have you had any experience interacting with those folks?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of interesting things here, and that's one of the things, as you can imagine, ARS can work with the universities without ATIP being involved. So it's just ARS and universities, and Robbie and ATIP and all the ATIP members do their own thing someplace else. The other opportunity here is for ATIP, your ATIP partner, to actually work with the universities and not include ARS. So there's that component as well. And the third component is we've got a lot of interesting things where we've done a new twist. We've got some really neat technologies, and what has happened is these technologies, in order to be successful with the businesses, need sort of a radically new look at the business plan. So what ATIP has started with TEDCO in Maryland, and what's very interesting, it's been picked up very fast by your ATIP member in Wisconsin, to look at going to the business schools to actually take the technologies that's developed and look at the business schools on developing a novel business plan to be successful. And one example of this is the slide Renee showed. It involved a product, Crystech. And that was a product down in the South that ATIP in Maryland used with the business school. And we had a technology where we could take rice batter and we could make fried chicken have 1/3 less fat. Well, as you can imagine, that didn't go anywhere because people eating fried chicken really don't care about the fat. So that technology not getting implemented. The business school looked at that technology and said, well, that's because you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's gluten-free, and there's a huge number of people that would like gluten-free fried chicken. So they came up with a brand new business plan. The instructor of the school and the class actually licensed the technology, and within 18 months they had products being sold, and within 18 months they had products not only being sold, they were in 4 different states. So we've got quite a bit of experience actually working with some of the business schools to actually come up with some better business plans and better strategies for tech transfer. And one of the groups in Jack Heinemann in Wisconsin, our ATIP partner, is moving that forward at sort of an accelerated pace. Also in Ohio, we have another ATIP partner in Ohio that's also doing that as well. So yeah, we've sort of expanded into the business schools.
Okay, but not it sounds like not with the agricultural economics business faculty, but more the business, the MBA type faculty. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, what we've done, yes and no. In that, what has happened in Wisconsin, they brought those faculties in with the business school. So they have a program that's sort of combined. So what we're trying to do is not reinvent the wheel. We're just hooking up with those universities that already have those joint programs. So same thing in Maryland. Those business schools have already combined the agricultural economic ones with the business school. So we're just going with the ones that are already in place that can do that.
Okay, thanks. Another question.
You mentioned on that in California, what they've done there is they've gone a little different approach. They've connected with the business schools on the community colleges and are bringing in the universities to the community colleges because the University of California system actually has an agreement to actually work with the community colleges to integrate their programs. So the ag sector in California at the university level is going to the community college business schools to look at stuff. So that's another opportunity.
Another question I had is Stephen Farr wanted to know who was speaking. That's Rob Griesbach, who's the Deputy Administrator for ARS Tech Transfer. Do you have on your website someplace a sort of an inventory of available ARS technologies? The ones that are not sort of Renee talked about kind of two different ways of doing this. There's the patent one, or just releasing it to the public. So I guess there'd be two different categories of technology that could be available. Is there an inventory, or have you guys thought about, or are you currently using some of the third-party systems that are out there to kind of help people find technologies? I'm thinking of, in particular, of Flintbox, which is actually out of Canada, but a lot of organizations in the U.S. are using that to kind of let people know about their technologies that are available for use or licensing.
Yeah, we've got a couple of interesting things. One of the things, our ATIP partners have been very successful on the technologies that have been available and actually moving them out. So we don't really have too many patented technologies that are available at this point. But we're in the process of putting on our website a new one, and we're going to be using Salesforce to actually move those out. What's more interesting in this is what we've done is moved way upstream, in that we're now looking at getting our partners to license the technology, or the partners that would license the technology to cooperate with us at the beginning of the research project. So that's sort of a different approach. The other thing that Renee mentioned that's very important for people to understand, more than 75% of our technology, even though we could patent it, we don't. We put it in the public domain. And so one of the things is we've got a lot of technologies in the public domain that need to get out. So what we're doing there is a very different approach. The NIST in the Department of Commerce is going to put up a website. They have a website that's going to put up on their website that technologies that ARS has developed that are freely available to solve these economic problems. So one of the things we're looking at is how do we get out our technologies that really don't need a patent and a license, and they're just freely available and they just needed to be implemented. And so we're doing that via the Department of Commerce website.
Okay. All right.
Because
So
as Renee said, most of our technologies are free.
right, but there's still you still need to kind of have a place to go look for them.
Yes.
So yeah. So
And what we're also doing is as you can imagine, our website right now is being modified. So we're supposed to be rolling out a new formatted website that'll have a lot more of our available technologies. And what's important is our research capacity. So you can go down and say, do we need somebody that's an expertise in this area? Does ARS have one? And I think this will be fairly important if a university is looking, university researchers saying, well, there's really nobody at this university that has this expertise. Is there anybody in ARS that has this for us? So we're going to try to get that up on our website this spring. But I think it'll be of great value.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be helpful, and we'll certainly get that out to our stakeholders as that comes available, and be sure to let the 4 regional rural development centers know about that. And I see that I think somebody accidentally clicked a button on the webinar evaluation. Maybe that was Rosa or Renee. But anyway, so if you filled out the evaluation once, it's gone. So please fill it out again. I'm not sure what happened there. Anybody on the line have a question? It'd be a good time to type it in. Bo did respond to our question to him in terms of lining you up with the ag-related clusters in the SET program to make some of those linkages. So I think that's a great suggestion that we'll need to follow up on.
Yeah, that would be great.
If there aren't any questions from the group, I think we're pretty close to our time. So I want to thank our presenters and for a very informative set of slides, and I think hopefully people got a much better idea of what ARS is all about, and it's kind of a resource that I think many of us in the land grant system should be using more fully. So it's great to do this.
And our emails are very easy with the government. Mine would be robert.griesbach@ars.usda.gov. Renee's is renee.wagner@ars.usda.gov. So if you just email us if you have any questions or anything else.
Great. And Stephen Farr wanted to know when will this be made available? And yes, all of our webinars are archived on our North Central Regional Center for Rural Development website. You just go onto our website, ncrcrd.org, and click on webinar, and then go to the archive section, and you can find that. So, and we typically make the slides available separately, as well as the entire recorded presentation. So you've got both of those. So with that, I think we can close down the recording.